Marina Skua podcast. My name's Marina. I'm a knitwear designer and yarn dyer based in the southwest of England. And today it's super chilly outside, so we've got the fire going. I hope you're going to enjoy that and it'll be nice and cozy for you. And I'm wearing a hat not really because of the cold, but because hair growing out awkwardness means I'm looking like I should be in a 90s boy band if I don't have anything covering my hair. So we're just wearing a lot of hats right now. So today I will talk a little bit about this hat because I'm also planning something at some point in the future to do with it. And I'm going to talk about another project I'm working on and some yarn that I've been dyeing recently and some of my older patterns that you can do using it. So first up, I'll talk about my hat and the jumper I'm wearing. So the hat is my rhyme flower, which I released towards the end of 2021. It was actually in a limited edition alpaca yarn, so it's undyed yarn in a nice natural white and a fawny brown. But someone recently in my make along, hi Hilary if you're watching, has made it in my Mendip 4-ply yarn in some really nice orangey browny colours, and it looks really, really pretty. And I had a look at the gauge of this hat and I think it would actually work really nicely in Mendip 4-ply. And something I've been considering for a while because I love this motif. It's got corrugated ribbing for the border here, and then just this sort of geometric floral pattern, and I just really like it. And so I am considering, when I have a bit more time to knit things, I would like to make a top in Mendip 4-ply using this motif around the bottom, and then probably a sleeveless top, sort of like a little vesty cami thing, which would be really nice for layering up. And I think it'll be really pretty, and it's going to be a long time before I can get started on it because I've mentioned in the last few episodes I am working on a lot of sample knitting at the moment, which is great. It means that I have design commissions and it's really exciting to be working with various publications, but it also means that I've got a lot of stuff I can't show you. But I have finished off a big one which I'm posting off today. I'm just about to take a little bit of video of that so that when it's released I can share that one with you. But yeah, so when I have a little bit more space on my needles and fewer deadlines to work to, I'd love to make a top of this one. And I'll actually talk about some of the colour combinations I'm considering in a little bit when I'm talking about my yarn. So yes, rhyme flower hat. The pattern's available on my website and Ravelry. It's a really nice, quick pattern. It's got, don't know if you can see the decreases, but the decreases are nice and balanced. You can go and look at the photos of the pattern if you want to see some more details of it. Yeah, I think it's a really pretty design, and it's called Rhyme Flower because rhyme is R-I-M-E, which is rhyme frost, which is just that really nice frost that kind of covers everything. And these flowers remind me of when you have dried hydrangeas, because often with hydrangeas you'll leave the dead flower heads on throughout winter, and I've always loved how they look with a bit of frost on them when it's really chilly. And we've got that outside at the moment and it's lovely. So yes, rhyme flower hat. Then the jumper I'm wearing is one that is not currently released but will be released next week. So if you are keen on it and it's not quite out yet, make sure you're signed up to my newsletter. You can do that just via my website, and you get a couple of emails a month just with what's going on, what I'm working on, new releases, any discounts. There will be an introductory discount on this one, and the discount will be better for newsletter subscribers. And if you are watching in the future, like more than a week away from now, then it's probably already out. So there will be a link in the description box below to where you can get the pattern. So this one, I have knitted it in yarn very kindly provided by Garthenor. That's Garthenor Organic. And it is, I just really like it. Well, I mean, it definitely goes with my general colour vibe. I like a bit of sludgy green. And I kind of wanted to do like a little bit of a twist on a traditional jumper that kind of combines elements of ribbing and cables and things. So we've got, if I just move around a little bit here, we've got some columns of faux cables coming up here and then moving outwards towards the shoulder. On the back, if I show you here, the columns just come straight up. And then they meet on the shoulder. And then we've got panels of ribbing down the sides and underneath the arms, which then join up with the ribbing at the cuffs. And at the bottom, all the ribbing lines up there as well. And I like, I've talked about before how I quite like sort of structural elements that all meet and intersect nicely. And so this jumper is kind of, it's just that. It's fairly clean, simple details, but done in a way that I think is quite, well, definitely very wearable. This outfit in particular, the jumper, I think particularly in the colour it is, combined with the trousers, which are bombachas de campo, which are a traditional, like, Argentine work trouser. I wear them a lot. Like, my parents live in fairly rural Argentina, and it's what a lot of people wear a lot of the time. And I have, you know, these are slightly nicer ones, they're cord, and then I've got some really, really mucky ones that I basically exclusively wear for gardening these days. And a nicer pair that don't really fit, which is a real shame. But yes, this outfit, I think with the pleated trousers and the sort of quite structured elements of this, just makes me feel like a land girl. It feels like a properly vintage vibe, which I'm really enjoying. I like, because there's nothing, like, my style can tend a bit weird and off-kilter, which I'm fine with. This is like a fairly normal outfit, but it just has that little bit of vintage feel that I think is quite fun. And actually, on that note of like personal style and things, I've really been enjoying my friend Kat Weaver's podcast recently. I've been catching up, now that I'm doing so much knitting, I've been catching up on videos in the evenings when I'm just working on that and the baby is out of the way. And just watching Kat, like, gradually embrace her style, it's just loads of fun, because it's something that I've been thinking about too, and about how we can feel pressured to dress a certain way that might not necessarily be the way we want to. And I, like, when I was a teenager, I dressed super weirdly. I was doing a lot of historical costuming and stuff, and I just found that really interesting. I just sewed a lot of things because I wanted to, and then because I'd made them, I wore them. And I was a teenager. I had, like, no responsibilities. I just had to show up to school, and we didn't have a uniform when I was in sixth form, so I used to get younger kids coming up to me and asking if I was in a play, and it was fantastic. And then, yeah, I over the last few years, I've been finding that again a bit with making more of my own clothes, weaving fabric for some clothes. I'd like to do more of that again soon. Again, if I have a bit more making time that's not just relentless sample knitting. yeah, just embracing a style that's a bit of my own and slightly more whimsical and quite fun. It's just really enjoyable. Yeah. I do hope, like, it's what I'm trying to find with my designs and patterns. I want them to be so that you can put your own spin on them. You could knit them in really like out there color combinations and create something that's a massive statement, or you can do it in quite an understated way and dress things down a bit more. And I want things to be fundamentally very wearable and practical. I actually did a little question thing on Instagram asking people about how they would define my knitwear style, and it was just so much fun seeing all the responses I got of, like, some people talking about how comfortable and practical and wearable they are, and some people saying fantasy, whimsical, Middle Earth. And it's like, yeah, that's what I'm going for. I want that spread. Like, there is a lot of nature inspiration in there. So this one is called Woodbind, and it was kind of inspired by the way vines and creepers grow around trees, like really old trees that have really ridged bark, which is sort of this bit, and then you've got these vines and creepers that kind of surround them. And Woodbind is a sort of archaic, outdated term that was used for the clematis that we get growing in the hedges, also called traveller's joy, which I think is lovely because at this time of year all the seed heads are all fluffy and magical looking. And yes. So I'm now going to show you a project that I've started since I last filmed. So this one I've already made a hash of, because everything gets tangled when you have more than one ball of yarn. So this is a project I am working on for various purposes, really. Firstly, I did not make my husband's Christmas present in time, because that happens sometimes. And also, well, I wanted to make him a jumper. I wanted to do one with a more complex colour palette than I often do. And so I knitted a swatch, and I wanted to give him the option to swap out any colours or just pick a completely different colour combination if he wanted to, and check that he actually liked it if he wanted to make any tweaks to the design. And bless him, he loved it just as it was. So when we got home, I cast on and have been working on this. Again, we've got a very bluey, greeny, grey colour thing going on, which I'm just really enjoying at the moment. It's the colour I chose to paint my living room, and it just seems to have become a bit of a theme. So I'm really, really enjoying this, because obviously I'm still on the yoke, and that's always a super fun bit of a colourwork project. But I'm loving seeing how these colours come together. So this design doesn't have a name yet. At the moment I am just calling it Ben's Yoke. And so the colours I've got on here, the yarn is my Mendip DK, which I'm going to show you a bit more of in a little bit, because I've been dyeing up a fair bit of it recently. Good God, what am I doing here? So this is Mendip DK, and I wanted to come up with a colour combination for this that uses only the sunny colours. So Mendip DK, as well as the Mendip 4-ply, they come in the same colours now. There is a white base, which is this one, which is pure white lambswool. It's from Fernhill Farm, which is an eco farm up on the Mendips, and it's a mix of breeds. Mostly Shetland Romney crosses, but there's some Blue-faced Leicester in there. There's a little bit of Teeswater. There is, I think these days they've got a little bit of Wensleydale in the flock. And yes, so it's a mix of lambswool, because at Fernhill, when they're sorting and grading their fleeces, they do tend to separate things out. So often you will have a bag of, like, bags per colour, and then like a big sack of white Shetland Romney, for example, and blue-faced Leicester crosses and pure Shetland and various things like that. With the lambswool, because you get so much less fleece, because they're smaller animals and they have shorter fleeces, so it's a slightly shorter staple length, and it's finer and everything, and each fleece just takes up a lot less space. They tend to put it together, and they mostly just separate out by colour. So this is first clip lambswool, so this is just a mix of all the breeds they have on Fernhill. So it is a single source, one farm, but it is a mix of breeds, which I think is really nice, because they do breed for good wool and high quality fibre, which just means it's lovely. Like, I would still describe it as a rustic yarn, but for a rustic yarn it's very, very soft. Like, if you are mostly into pure merino that's been quite treated and things, then it's not going to feel super soft compared to that. But for a farm yarn, I think it's lovely and soft. Like, I tend not to be super sensitive or anything, but I can happily wear this against my skin, and it is delightful. So there's the white, and I've just realised I should have got some grey for you to show you. Give me a second. Whee! Now this is the grey. It's in a skein, and it's got a little yellow tie on it, because the mill that spins this yarn for me, they put yellow ties on ones that either have knots in them or are slightly underweight, like where they've had to change, like where they've just run out of yarn when they're winding the skeins. So this is the grey, this is the white. And the grey is, I haven't actually checked the proportions because it varies very slightly, but the grey is a decent amount of white with a little bit of very, very dark fleece in it. So it's very dark brown, verging on black. In sheep's fleece, it's really hard to get a true black, often because the ends of the fleece, where they're exposed to the weather and the sun and everything, they tend to get a bit bleached, and they will usually tend towards brown. But when mixed up with the white, it comes out this beautiful grey, which is a very slightly warm grey. But it's a fairly, like, balanced grey, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't tend towards a particular colour. And it's just super nice. So the mix of the really, really dark wool and the white wool gives you this heathery effect that you don't have in the white. So the white has just teeny tiny bits of flecks of darker fibre, which just give it a little bit of character. And then this is like properly sort of heathery, not quite tweedy, but visually textured. And it is delightful. So previously with the Mendip DK, I've had my colours dyed on this base. And another point, which I have been requested by my patrons to mention, is how, so previously I had the Mendip 4-ply came in the sunny, which is the white, and the stormy, which was a beige. It was a blend of all of the sheep colours they had on Fernhill. And the stormy has been discontinued because the composition of the flock has changed, and the brown genes that gave it that warm beigey colour are recessive, and so they have fewer of those sheep in the flock now. And so basically we weren't able to put together the same composition of wool to continue creating that base. So I have replaced it with the grey, which is what the Mendip DK was anyway. The whole history of this yarn range is quite storied. So the DK is the same white lambswool as the Sunny, but as I said, it's got a little bit of the darker fleece. And within the same breed, if you have breeds that come in quite a few different colours, Shetland is a classic example where you have a whole range of beautiful colours. Romney's also a good one. Often the fleeces that are darker in colour will tend to be slightly coarser. And you can, with the lambswool, it makes not a whole load of difference. But if you've got a Shetland Romney cross, for example, and one that is pure white and one that is a dark, like dark brown, often the white one will be slightly softer. So theoretically, the white base might be a tiny bit softer than this one, but given that it's lambswool and there's so little comparatively of the darker fleece in this one, it doesn't make a whole load of difference, but it does mean that both of them are much, much softer than the Stormy, because the Stormy was all grown-up sheep, and grown-up sheep have just lived a bit more, and as you will probably know with baby animals and baby humans, their hair is much softer. And as we get older, our hair gets a bit coarser. And so first clip lambswool, which is what the Mendip DK is now, is just really nice and soft. And so if you've worked with the Stormy base before, the Cloudy base, which is the current grey one, will be a pleasant surprise. It's really, really lovely. Yes, there we go. Slight sidetrack to talk about fleece. But these are the things that I really care about. Like, I'm not just buying random wool that's a BFL type, blue-faced Leicester type. So if you buy blue-faced Leicester wool from a wholesaler that's been through the British Wool Marketing Board and stuff, things get graded as types rather than the specific breed. So it's not necessarily going to be absolutely pure 100% BFL. This, I know what I'm getting because I know the farm, I have been there, I have met the animals, I spend time with the people who farm it, I know their practices and I love what they're doing. So yes, that's what's important to me in creating a yarn, is knowing where it's come from and that it's local. You know, they're less than 40 minutes drive away from me. I'm going to be going over there quite soon. And I will talk more about that another day. But yes, so Ben's yoke. The colours we have in here are, these are all on the Sunny base, because I feel like the Cloudy base, which is the grey, the colours are generally, because they're dyed on top of that grey base, they are generally a bit more muted and moody and heathery. But I really like some of the Sunny colours, especially some of the new ones I've done. And so this one is teal, which comes out on the Sunny base as a really nice sort of fresh but not garish turquoise. And then this tiny bit I've got left here, which is a little bit greyer and cooler than the beacons that I'm wearing. This colour is, oh, I've completely forgotten. It's not Willow, because Willow is a different one I've used. Olive Grove, called Olive Grove. This one is Yew, again on the Sunny base. So on the Stormy base, Cloudy. I will do that a lot. I'm still doing it and it's not right. Get your head sorted out, Marina. So on the Cloudy base, it comes out quite a bit darker and it's this rich, really nice green, and I need to knit some cables in this. It just has to happen. It's perfect. I really, really like properly dark green cables. And then we've got Night, which is at the moment just on the neckband here, but then this will be the main colour of the body of the jumper once I finish the yoke. And then we've got the Sunny sheep undyed, just for the little pops of colour on the bands there. And I'm really excited about this because I don't usually do colour combinations with this many colours. Often I'll just do 2 and occasionally 3 colours. So this one's got 4, and it just makes it so much more fun picking the shades that are going to go into it. So this one I wanted to go for something fairly cool that would go with Ben's wardrobe generally. He doesn't only wear cool colours, but I was also thinking about the pairs of trousers that he owns and trying to come up with a colour scheme that would work with as many of those as possible. Because he is much bigger than me and jumpers for him take a long time, so he doesn't get as many jumpers as I do. I will show you another one that I've knitted for him in the past soon. And that one he has worn an enormous amount, so it's high time he's got another one to add to his wardrobe. But that's something I do a lot with picking what I'm going to design and make, is working out how they will fit into a wardrobe and where there's a gap and how I will get the most use out of it. So yes, this one. I already want a version for me, and I've been playing with some colours. So I've been dyeing up the Mendip DK recently. It's taking a while because I'm still adjusting to only working part-time. Like, I haven't really properly got it into my head that before maternity leave I was working on this full-time, and now more of my time is looking after baby than working, and in my head I still work full-time, and it's strange. So I've been dyeing up lots of colours, and so the showed you this one. The sunny one is in here, this is the stormy one. And then clay are new colours, which I showed off on the 4-ply base a couple of episodes ago. I really enjoy how they're fitting in with the rest of the colours in the range. Like, I just keep playing with them, and like this colour on its own is a tiny bit too, I don't know, peachy and possibly feminine for me. But combined with other things, like with on the cloudy base where it comes out a lot more, well, moody. But then combined with greens and things, I love it. I love it. It's so nice. So these ones, this one is Sage on the sunny base. I feel a massively underappreciated colour. I love it. It's just really nice. It's a lovely sort of fresh but not zingy green. It's sort of calming and pleasant, and I love it. So that could work as a combination if I were to do a Marina version of this. And a Marina version of that would take so much less time than a Ben version. Again, things I can look forward to when I have more knitting time for me. I think that is very nice. You can swap out that for a bit of beach. This one is named after the Copper Beach. I named the colourway ages ago, and now I have a massive copper beach just across the road at the end of my garden, and it fills me with joy. At the moment it is bereft of leaves, but in a couple of months' time the leaves will start coming out, and they were just coming out last year when we were moving into this house, and it was just the most wonderful thing every day to see the leaves unfurled a tiny bit more. that colour combination I think is just solid. I really, really like that. I mean, you can get the clay in there if you wanted to make a more complex palette. I think that's really pretty. Or if you wanted to make it a little bit more springy, you could do something like that and get the bloom in there. Bloom is such a strange colour. It's a very, very clean, bright yellow, but dyed on the grey base, it gives this kind of weird off-kilter, like almost citrusy, greeny yellow, which is just so much fun. Get that going on, or swap out. Oh, that's quite nice. That's fun. And you can just keep swapping things out to come up with combinations. So I'm not just going to do this for the rest of forever, because greeny goodness. This one is Fern on the cloudy base, which is a really nice sort of mid-green. It's a little bit bluer than these ones. And so that way you get a nice little bit of contrast in there. Oh, go on. It's like all the goodness of spring, but without being like really garish and pastel. Gonna stop playing with yarn now. So yes, all of that to say, I have been dyeing up lots of Mendip DK. There is still more on the way. It's not all in the shop yet. As in, all of the colours that are in the range are not currently available. Those ones all are. If you would like colours that are not in stock, there is a dyed to order option, and I say that I will ship them out within 2 weeks. At the moment, I have the dye pots going most days. I'm not getting through loads of yarn, but if you order one, it's likely to be sooner than 2 weeks if you're just ordering one colour. If it's lots of colours, then it'll probably be closer to 2 weeks. But yeah, so there is a dye to order option for if you want either a colour that I haven't dyed up yet, like you'll be able to see the colour because I've dyed it on the 4-ply base already. And the 4-ply base has exactly the same colours. Or just if there isn't enough stock, like I dye in fairly small batches, and if I sell a couple of skeins, then that means that there won't necessarily be a sweater quantity available in that colour, but I always want people to be able to make jumpers, because knitting jumpers is one of the best things. So if there aren't enough skeins available, there's a dye to order option there, and I can just dye them up for you, and then you can have as much yarn as you need within reason. Like, again, small batches, small producer. Yeah, so we're going to stick with the Mendip DK theme because I love it, and I'm just going to do sort of what I did with the Mendip 4-ply and show you a few of the projects that I have made, well, the things I have designed with it in the past, because sometimes it's nice to revisit things. So first up is one that I wear loads. This is my Weird jumper. This is the sheep cloudy. And then the contrast colour is the beach on the cloudy base. So this was the beach on the sunny, and that's how it looks when it's dyed on the darker base. It is a lovely sort of rich reddish brown. We've got like little different colourwork details on the sleeves, and obviously they point in different directions because of symmetry, because I love symmetry. And then on the hem, we got like little spriglets. So these little, they remind me of when you're walking through the woods and you see tiny self-seeded little, like little larch seedlings or little pines, just ones that have dropped from the parent tree and they're just trying to become a new tree. And I love that. So these, there has been debate as to whether they are trees. In my mind, originally, they were sort of frondy fern leaves. because the original design, here we go. This is the first one I made, a really low contrast option. So this is the way odd hat, and I modified it slightly to come up with the yoke design for the jumper. And originally this colour is fern on the cloudy base. Originally I envisaged them as sort of ferny leaves, but they can also double as trees. Like if you did a version with that as the contrast colour, like they would be perfect fir trees and it would be the most beautiful thing. Yes, so then this one is the beach, same colour as on there, but with fox as the contrast colour. And this is a bigger size. This is my size, this is Ben's size. And it just shows how you can get a completely different effect using different colours but the same pattern. So here we've got a lighter colour on a darker colour, whereas here we've got very low contrast, and then in the jumper you've got decent contrast but dark colour on light colour. Yeah, I just love colours. I love playing with colours. You probably know this by now. If you've been watching previously, you've seen me faff with colours a lot. It's why I dye yarn. I can make all of my own colour combinations, and if I want to make a colour combination that there isn't the colour for, then I can just add it to the range and think, look how well it works now. So yes, a few way odd variations. This one has been quite popular recently, and it's been lovely to see more people getting the pattern. I wear it a lot. My one is quite cropped, so that sits sort of high hip for me, but there is absolutely nothing to stop you from making a longer body if you prefer a bit more, well, either midriff warmth or just you have a longer body. Then the other jumper of Ben's that I said I was going to show you. Now this I made in early 2020, so he has been wearing it fairly solidly throughout the winters for about 3 years now. This is Sarcactus. It was published in Making Stories issue 4, but is available as an individual pattern now. It's got much more colour work at the hem and sleeves, which is really fun because often you get to the end of a yoke and you think, oh, well, the colour work's finished now. I like to add little bits of colour work around the hem and sleeves just because it's fun. But with this one, you've got a whole load more colour work to look forward to. And yeah, it's nice. So this is again the sheep cloudy for the main body, and then sky on the cloudy base for the contrast colour. And again, I like contrast cuffs and hems. Don't know why, it's just a look I really enjoy. And I said Ben has worn this a whole lot, and so you can see there's a little bit of pilling. Maybe, can you see that? Yeah, a little bit there. But given that I've literally never done anything to this other than the occasional wash, like I've never gleaned it, I've never tried to depill it or anything, it is wearing a tiny bit thin at the elbows, which I will address quite soon. It's fine, it's not gonna go now, but I will just reinforce that with a little bit of duplicate stitch. Stitching time saves 9. But again, that's after 3 winters fairly solid wear, because the man literally has like 3 jumpers and this is his favourite one. So it just gets worn all the time. And wool, being magical as it is, doesn't need washing nearly as much as synthetics. Because it's just, it naturally kind of cleans itself. You just air it out every so often, unless you actually spill stuff all over it, which in this house now is a genuine risk. It just stays clean quite nicely. Then we got a few more hats, because I love hats. I love hats for colour work, because they're just a chance for me to play. So we got a couple more colourwork hats. This one is Spinan. I really like this one because I did it so that it goes from the main colour and then you do the colourwork and then it blends into the contrast colour for the crown. But you can also swap them around. Some people have done the top, the crown, in the main colour as well, and just had the little band of colourwork there. It's just a sort of abstract design. Like, so a lot of the abstract ones I do literally are just a result of me doodling on squared paper, and there are some rules. So I really try to avoid floats that you have to catch. Like, it's not the case in every single design, colourwork design of mine, but generally, especially for hats and smaller things, I want to avoid long floats because they're no fun. I don't do colourwork where you have to work 3 colours in a row because, again, it's just not fun to knit. I like things that are fun to knit. And so, you know, it's nice to work with like just little rules like that and come up with a design and then make it and turn it into something someone else can wear. So there have been a few cropping up of these recently. I'm going to show you 2 more hats and then I will remember to talk about the make-along, because I need to talk about the make-along and I've forgotten to mention it so far. Another colourwork hat. This is called Weirdling. I did a live video on Instagram to introduce and kick off the make-along on the 1st of January. And someone asked how to pronounce Weirdling because a lot of my pattern names are called strange things. This one is literally the word weird with ling on the end, like duckling. So it's just a little weird thing. It's got lots of stuff. I particularly like the big zigzaggy bit here, and then these like blobby bits at the bottom. I feel like this is one that I would like to make again and swap the colours around, so do a darker main colour and a lighter contrast colour, because I feel like it would really change the feel of it. But again, not much knitting time at the moment. So yeah, I like this one. Few of them have a double brim. So this one and this one have a folded over brim, which makes it really nice and warm and squishy. The Wayod just has a single brim, but with a tubular cast on for a really nice, neat, stretchy edge. I love a tubular cast on. It's super pretty. Yes. Final one to show you is Leaf Nest. Oh, I didn't mention the colours. Sheep in the cloudy, fox in the cloudy, because these were all made before I had the DK in the sunny base, because that is a new addition for this year. And then this one is beach. Can you tell the beach is one of my favourite colours? And sage, again on the cloudy base. So that one is sage on the sunny. Yeah, and then this one was a part of a collaboration I did with my lovely friend Harriet of Wildwood Stitches. She makes beautiful project bags, and yeah, we did a collaboration last year for these. She made some beautiful bags and I dyed up a special colour of yarn and designed this hat. This is called the Leaf Nest hat. So the colour is a variegated sort of orangey, reddy yumminess. It is slightly similar to the fox, but the fox is a little bit more orange and less kind of russety, and doesn't have nearly that degree of variegation, because the fox is a semi-solid rather than an actual subtle variegated one. And so this one just has simple cables and lace, and then we've got quite pretty crown decreases. And I just really like this one, it's nice. You can make it from a single skein in the first 2 sizes. The bigger size you probably need a second skein, or if you wanted to make it longer, if you wanted a bit of slouch or to be able to properly pull it down over your ears and forehead, Yes. So I love this one. I made another one in handspun yarn for my mother when she was here over the summer, and it was in a quite light, fresh green, and it was really pretty. But that is now in Argentina with her, so I can't show it to you. Those are the things I have designed in Mendip DK. So now, make along. Yes, give me a second. I'm gonna just arrange things here. Okay, make along. I mentioned this in the last episode. It's actually what I am doing. I said I was making this for various reasons. It is a nice warm jumper that my husband is going to love. It's also going to be a design that I release at some point in the future. And I am also making it as part of my Out of the Dark make along. If you've been around here for a while, you might be familiar with the concept. I don't like the second half of winter. I think it is often depressing and rubbish. Days like today are lovely because it's frosty outside and the sun's out, but then it's often grey and muddy and it gets dark really, really, really early. And so I just started doing this as a way to bring a little bit of joy to this time of year. So the make-along started on the 1st of January and will be running for another 2 months until the spring equinox, which is the 20th of March. And at that point, we're well into spring. Gardener's World should be getting back on TV, and that's always an important part of the calendar. That's literally my marker for when it's springtime. Gardener's World is back on. I can start getting on it with the garden. Fingers crossed this year I will actually get some time for it. And the idea is that the make-along takes us from very short, dark, probably muddy days to days when the daffodils are already out and the days are a bit longer and we're at the point where the days will be longer than the nights and everything feels like it's going to be a bit better. So yes, make-along is already decently underway. We're about not quite 3 weeks in yet. But we've already had lots of beautiful projects showing up. It's so, so nice to see the things that people are making, and it's literally why I do it. It's very, very selfish of me. I want you guys to make me happy by making things with my yarn and patterns, and that brings me an unbelievable amount of joy. And if you happen to enjoy it as well, then fantastic. So, yes. Any projects using my yarn or patterns are eligible to enter. They can be projects that you've already started on. If you've got a lingering work in progress somewhere, this would be a fantastic time to get it out and finish it. If you've got something that you've been meaning to start for ages, then give it a go. You don't have to have finished the project, but to enter I will need more than a photo of the yarn you're intending to use or something. Ways to enter are post on your grid on Instagram. It needs to be a public profile so that I can actually see your posts and share them. Using the hashtag Out of the Dark MAL 2023, all one word. And also tag me in your photo. Like, tag in the photo, not just in the caption, because then I can actually see it, because Instagram's super weird and it tends to hide when I'm mentioned in comments and things. And posts tagged with those things will be entered for prizes. And I'm gathering up prizes now. I've already got a couple lined up, and there will be more. I will be sharing more details about the prizes next month. In next month's episode, and I'll also be posting about those on Instagram and things. So Instagram is the primary way you can join. If you make more than one thing, you are entered more than one time. And you can also get double entries with the same project by also posting in my Patreon Discord group. So I've mentioned it lots before. I have Patreon, which is one of the main things that helps me put aside the time to make this podcast. I love chatting with you guys, and it's really nice to have that little bit of extra support, which helps keep things going as a very small business. And it's also just a lovely little community, and I spend a fair bit of time in our Discord server keeping up with what people are making. Not necessarily always my projects, but people ask for advice there. And yeah, it's a really lovely place to chat about your craft and what you're up to. And there is a specific make-along channel in there now where you can post your make-along projects. And the Discord group is available to all tiers of patrons. So there are 3 different tiers, and they each get different levels of benefits. The top 2 ones get bonus videos every month. So I create another video, usually working on a specific project, and it's usually a bit more focused, but sometimes I just do a chatty one. And yeah, so if you are interested in helping to support the podcast and getting involved with the community there. And then this Sunday we have this month's Zoom call, which is again open to the top 2 tiers of Patreon. Top 2 tiers makes it sound like elite and exclusive. Like they are fairly reasonably priced. The tiers are £2, £5, and £10, and that is, it varies according to your currency. And yeah, go and take a look if you are at all interested in getting extra videos and just getting more involved and seeing more of what I'm working on, and spending time with probably people quite a lot like you who are interested in similar things and some sustainable craft and interesting knitting and things. So yes, and even if you're not interested in becoming a patron, join the Make Along. It's loads of fun. I've got lots of yarn available. All of my patterns on my website and Ravelry are viable options. If you're knitting from one of my patterns, you don't have to use my yarn. If you're using my yarn, you don't have to use one of my patterns. You can use my yarn along with someone else's yarn if you want to mix things up. You can use yarn of mine that you already have in your stash. It's like fairly free and easy. I just want to see the nice things you're making, and I really enjoy them. So yeah, I think that's it for this month. Yeah, it's been really, really lovely to have a chat with you, and I will catch up with you next month. And so until then, bye bye.